Action.
Hi, I'm Katie Witwer, and this is my read aloud for my genre project. And for my genre, I chose realistic fiction, and the book I chose is Song and Dance Man. This is a Catapult Award-winning book, and it's by Karen Ackerman, and it's illustrated by Stephen Gameau. This is a very well-known book, and it's usually at the top of the list as far as picture books go for children that are in the realistic fiction genre. So I hope you enjoy it as I read along, and pay attention to the story and pay attention to the pictures and just think about how they can relate to real life. Grandpa was a song and dance man who once danced on the vaudeville stage. When we visit, he tells us about a time before people watched TV back in the good old days, the song and dance days. Supper in an hour, Grandma calls from the kitchen. I wonder if my tap shoes still fit, Grandpa says with a smile. Then he turns on the light to the attic and we follow him up the steep wooden steps. Faded posters of Grandpa when he was young hang on the walls. He moves some cardboard boxes and a rack of Grandma's winter dresses out of the way, and we see a dusty, brown, leather-trimmed trunk in the corner. I wonder what that is. As soon as Grandpa opens it, the smell of cedar chips and old things saved fills the attic. Inside are his shoes with the silver half-moon taps on the toes, and heels, bowler hats, and top hats, and vests with stripes and matching bow ties. We try on the hats and pretend we're dancing on a vaudeville stage where the bright lights twinkle and the piano player nods his head along with the music. After wiping his shoes with a cloth, he calls a chamois. Grandpa puts them on. He tucks small white pads inside the shoes so his corns won't rub. And he turns on the lamps and aims each one down like a spotlight. He sprinkles a little powder on the floor, and it's showtime. We sit on one of Grandma's wooden blankets, or rolling blankets, clap our hands, and call out, "Yay, Grandpa!" The song and dance man begins to dance the old soft shoe. His feet move slowly at first, while his tap shoes make soft, slippery sounds like rain on a tin roof. We forget that it's Grandpa dancing, and all we can hear is the silvery tap of 2 feet, and all we can see is a song and dance man gliding across a vaudeville stage. He says, "Watch this," and does a new step that sounds like a woodpecker tapping on a tree. Suddenly, his shoes move faster, and he begins to sing. His voice is as round and strong as a canyon echo, and his cheeks get rosy as he sings. Yankee Doodle Boy, a song he knows from the good old days. There are too many dance steps and too many words in the song for us to remember, but the show is better than any show on TV. The song and dance man stops and leans forward with a wink. "What's that in your ear?" he asks, and he pulls a silver dollar out of somebody's hair. He rolls his bowler hat down his arm and catches it in his hand and flips it back onto his head. "Know how to make an elephant float?" he asks. 1 scoop of ice cream, 2 squirts of soda, and 3 scoops of elephant. We've heard that joke before, but the song and dance man slaps his knee and laughs, ha ha, until his eyes water. He tries to wipe them with a red hanky from his vest pocket, but the hanky just gets longer and longer as he pulls it out. He looks so surprised that we start laughing too, and it feels like the whole attic is shaking. Sometimes we laugh so hard, the hiccups start, and Grandpa stops to bring us a glass of water from the bathroom. "Drink slow and hold your breath," he says, "or I'll have to scare you." hiccups are gone, he gets a gold-tipped cane and a black silk top hat from the trunk. He lowers his eyes and tips the hat, and he's standing very still. All the lights are turned low except one that shines on his polished tap shoes. It's the grand finale, so the song and dance band takes a deep breath. He lifts the cane and holds it in both hands. Slowly, he starts to tap. His shoes move faster and faster and faster, and the sounds coming from them are too many to make with only 2 feet. He spins and jumps into the air, touching the stage again. He kneels with his arms spread out, and the silk top hat and gold-tipped cane lie side by side at his feet. His shoes are still, and the show is over. We stand up together and clap our hands, shouting, "Hooray!" and more. But Grandpa only smiles and shakes his head, all out of breath. He takes off his tap shoes, wraps them gently in a chamois cloth, and puts them back in the leather-trimmed trunk. He carefully folds his vest and lays the top hat and cane on it, and we follow him to the stairway. Grandpa holds on to the rail as we go down the steps. At the bottom, he hugs us, and we tell him we wish we could have seen him dance in the good old days, the song and dance days. He smiles and whispers that he wouldn't trade a million good old days for the days he spends with us. But as he turns off the attic light, Grandpa glances back up the stairs, and we wonder how much he really misses that time on the venerable stage when he was a song and dance man. The end. So I don't know about you, but I think this story is a good picture of what a good realistic fiction book is about, and it's just about characters that might not be real, but it has events and characters that could be real or that really are real or that are just make-believe. So now we're going to go over to our presentation, which is right here, and this is just going to give us an idea of what realistic fiction is all about. So if you could just walk through this presentation with me, I'd really appreciate it. So you might ask yourself, what is realistic fiction? Well, realistic fiction is a form of fiction. It clearly depicts contemporary life through events and or people. And the subjects in realistic fiction include family life, growing up, survival, death, humans as individuals. The elements of realistic fiction include stories that have occurred in the present or past. It includes characters, settings, and events that could be or are real, like we just got to experience in the story we just read. Issues in realistic fiction stories could be experienced by real people. Story elements of realistic fiction include plot, characters, theme, and style. Some issues that have become controversial issues are sexuality, violence, profanity, family issues, and sexism. So when you're thinking about different books to put in your library, in your classroom, you might want to be aware of the issues that realistic fiction can cause. Just before you have your students read the books, it might be smart to send a note home discussing the book that you're introducing to the students. That way you can kind of get their approval on whether or not it's okay for them to read the story. So what do I want students to know about realistic fiction? I want them to know that realistic fiction stories are made up and involve events, people, and places that could be or are real. Realistic fiction characters are believable and may have issues one may be able to connect with. As an educator, I want students to be interested in realistic fiction books as well as inspired by realistic fiction stories. I know for me that there are many different stories, like Patricia Polacco's story, Thank You, Mr. Faulkner, is a story about a young girl who hates reading, but there's a teacher in her life that influences her and causes her to create a passion in her soul for reading and learning. And the story is actually about Patricia Polacco herself. And that story was one that I was able to really connect with and one that I'll never forget. So that's an experience that I just would love for my students to be able to go through as they continue in their learning progress. Some realistic fiction books include Out of My Mind by Sharon M. Draper, The Year of Billy Miller by Kevin Hinkes, Bully by Patricia Polacco, Liar and Spy by Rebecca Stead, Troublemaker by Andrew Clements, Ungifted by Gordon Corman, Wonderstruck by Brian Selznick, When You Reach Me by Rebecca Stead, The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. And this is just a variety. It includes picture books as well as chapter books. So ages or grades K through 2 or grades 3 through 5th are probably the best age for these books. Some award-winning realistic fiction books include A Sick Day for Amos McGee by Philip C. Stead, Wonder by R.J. Palacio, Mockingbird by Catherine Erskine, Okay for Now by Gary D. Smith, and Blackout by John Rocco. Some award-winning authors of realistic fiction stories include Rebecca Stead, and she's the author of Liar and Spy, When You Reach Me, as well as First Light. First Light's one of her most recent realistic fiction books that came out. Another author is Patricia Polacco, one of my favorites, and she has written Bully, The Artemis Chew, Thank You, Mr. Faulkner. Another author is Andrew Clements, author of Troublemaker, No Talking, and The Map Trap. The Map Trap is also a book that has just recently come out, and many readers have enjoyed it. Kate DiCamillo is another well-known realistic fiction author. She wrote The Tale of Despereaux, Because of Winn-Dixie, and Flora and Ulysses. And last but not least, Jerry Spinelli, author of Stargirl, Maniac McGee, Jake and Lily. And some of these stories might have been familiar to you, and if that's the case, then that makes me glad, because I just feel like a lot of people do enjoy reading realistic fiction books, and a lot of these books listed are very well known by readers. And that is the end of my presentation. And ultimately through this, through my students and just through people that are watching this, I really just want to inspire you to go out and read classic, old, or new realistic fiction books. And I really hope that you can connect with them, be inspired by them, and most importantly, just encouraged by them, whether it's the characters, the plot, or the event. So thank you for watching.